key city decision makers and to allow them to ask comments and ask questions and provide comments. No decisions or recommendations on the proposed development will be made by this committee. Any proposals for development you hear or see today are in a very early conceptual stage of planning, without the city's departments of planning and public works having had the opportunity to review them. Accordingly, details of any proposed development at this time is premature, as they are subject to change prior to the formal submission process. In light of the informal and preliminary nature of the presentation today, the public has been invited to attend both via the Zoom webinar platform or streaming live on YouTube and learn about concepts associated with this proposed development in your city, but public comment will not be offered at this time. Any person interested in commenting on the proposal discussed today is encouraged to contact their elected representatives and also take advantage of the numerous opportunities to speak before the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council when, if such occurs, the development is formally submitted for the city's consideration. And I'd like to thank everyone for attending. Can I get a roll call of commission members?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilmember Brost, Councilmember Galani, Councilmember Garitano.
Here.
Mayor Boland.
Here.
Thank you. Chair Beatty.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does the Department of Planning have any opening comments?
Mr. Chair, just as we typically do, we did provide you a packet of information for the purposes of tonight's discussion. That packet contained the agenda, which will allow us to follow the components of the meeting together. Also, the petitioner has provided what I would consider a concept plan for the development of the property. The property is approximately 10 acres in size and has frontage on two major intersections in town center, that being Main Street and Taylor Road and Manchester Road and Taylor Road. Along with that concept plan, the department provided an aerial photograph of the properties as well as the general vicinity. And included with the information was the regulating plan of town center, the land use list of town center, and then finally the bylaws associated with this committee in the event if there are any questions. If there are any questions at this time about the information provided by the department, it would be glad to try to answer them at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vunich. Is there any questions from the committee? All right. Seeing none, should we have the proposal team speak on what they have to? All right, Mr. Cohn.
Yes, my name is Edward Cohn. I'm the property owner of the discussion this evening. A couple points before we begin. The total site is really just over 12 acres, encompassing both the east side of Taylor Road and the west side of Taylor Road. And another minor comment, the east gate as shown on the plat is shown as a private road. It's our intention that it will be a public street and built to Wildwood standards. I was hoping to see Michael Smith from Humphreys Architectural. Is he there? Because I'd like for him to, since he designed it, to make the presentation to the committee.
He's being admitted now.
Okay.
All right. Welcome,
Yeah.
Mr. Smith.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. This is Michael Smith at Humphreys and Partners Architects. I'm the studio director for our studio headquarters office here in Dallas, Texas.
Thank you. Go ahead. At this time, you can go ahead with your presentation.
All right. Site plan. Turn my screen on.
Michael, I believe it's on the screen.
Okay, there we go. Yep, George got it pulled up. Okay, perfect. So we can kind of just run through the layout here just real quick. As Ed said, it's about a 12-acre site overall. We're planning on just a portion of it. You can see as we kind of work our way from west to east along the north side, along Main Street, we're proposing a mixed-use building that is the buildings with the kind of center portion shaded in the red color. We're proposing, 100% ground floor retail on that building with 3 stories of residential above, ample patio space on each end of the building for outdoor dining and other outdoor activities as related to the commercial space. And then the next building over is a larger kind of E-shaped building. You can see there we're proposing our clubhouse area amenity space in the ground floor of that building as well, along with some other retail and then a specialty retail out on the corner there. You can see that we've got multiple courtyards in that building. We've labeled one as a pool courtyard and then one as a dog park. That building is going to be 4 stories above the podium. And then as you see where that red line is, where the retail portion is separated out on the ground floor, everything south of that will just be 4 stories on grade. And then the parking will all be a surface parking lot, kind of both to the south and west of that building. And then we've got another larger surface parking lot due south of that building. And then lastly, out on Manchester Road, at the corner of Manchester Road and Taylor, we're showing some single family lots there for some single family houses. We've got a large detention pond there, almost 3/4 of an acre. And then you can see across Taylor, we've got some additional overflow parking and some pickleball courts as an additional outdoor amenity. So those are kind of the highlights of the overall layout. We're showing 189 total residential units plus the 11 single family lots for a grand total of 200 total units for the whole site.
All right, thank you. Mayor Boland, Councilman Garitano, do you have any questions or comments on this?
I'm happy to go first, Joe, or go ahead.
I thought I saw a hand up and not. All right, Mayor Boland, sorry, Councilman Garitano.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for letting me go. So my question is just around, and this is just feedback I've gotten, is just how are we looking at like the traffic impact on that, just around the roundabout? That's the feedback I got from a resident that lives right there at the Villages of Cherry Hills.
I don't think at this point we've done any kind of traffic impact analysis. Since this is kind of just our first draft at this plan, I believe though that's something that you guys would like to see. That certainly take a look into that. But this is we don't have that information. Exactly.
Michael, I'll just jump in for 2 seconds.
Sure.
My name is Kirk Mills, and we own 10,000 apartments in St. Louis. We built 2,000. Built one in Lake St. Louis that's, I think the premier property in St. Louis, leasing up like crazy. Building one in Maryland Heights and potentially one in St. Peter's. I think you'll find that traffic study is going to show it will have a negligible impact on traffic, but we really need to get the traffic expert to do the study to provide that and be able to answer any questions, because I know from anecdotally, but you're going to want to hear from the expert.
Yeah, I'm just bringing it up at this point. I think it's just good to make sure we don't lose sight of that, just to make sure. And, I see a lot of potential with the access to 100 there that, hopefully traffic, when it's looking to go east or west of the city, we'd encourage people to go north on Taylor and then access 100 because it is right there. So, I think just put that on the radar, just as something that, comes from the community as a question of, what are we doing about traffic?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and just from my thoughts, I tend to agree with what Councilman Garitano said. I feel like most of the traffic the destinations are north and not south. And unless we start building a fair amount of retail on Manchester, there's not much reason to go down there.
I just would respectfully disagree. We have businesses on Manchester, and I don't want the position of the city to be saying that there's no reason to go on Manchester, Mr. Beatty.
I understand what you're saying, but the businesses that are there are fairly small.
They're just as
compared.
important as all our businesses.
All right. Mr. Cohn, you had a comment?
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, a traffic study has already been done. I think Mr. Vunish could comment on that, anticipating development of this nature. And I believe the results were that the infrastructure that we have and proposed is more than adequate to handle the addition of these additional residential units. Is that correct, Mr. Vunish?
With the chair's permission,
Yeah, go ahead.
many of you will recall when we updated the town center plan recently, that group of volunteers chose to proceed forward and do an overall study of the town center, inclusive of this area and others. That study was done under the guidance of Rick Brown, our Director of Public Works, through HR Green. So we can certainly provide that to the Planning and Zoning Commission if this project moves forward. And we'll depend a lot on Mr. Brown to take us through the process that we need to go to understand if there's any alterations or changes that would, for the most part, need the study to be updated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vunich. Mayor Bolin?
Yeah, so just on a macro level, definitely appreciate all the comments. I think this is a very good option for our town center for multiple reasons. Certain, given Mr. Cohn's reputation and proven record as to developments in the city, that it'll be done in a very qualitative way. So I wholeheartedly support it. And if we're looking for a motion, I would move that the committee approve of conceptually what's being presented to it this evening on a go forward basis with more details to follow. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I'll just add another comment there. One of the things that we hear a lot from our residents is they want more dining, entertainment options in the town center. So it sounds like from what I see here, there's potential for this to help in two ways. One, looks like there's some commercial retail in there, but also secondly, addressing the issue that we already hear from existing businesses, that there's a need for more foot traffic, more people here. So any comment on that? Like, anything that you could share about like how we can even continue to build the town center to address these needs that we hear always over and over from people. They want more restaurant options, more stores to shop at, things like that.
Is it okay if I just mention something? My name's
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not sure exactly, how this works, but I don't want to, jump in. But so this property, I think the average income of the people living here is going to be at least 100,000. I do expect there to be a fair amount of retirees, of people that love Wildwood but are ready to sell their house and not have a yard and want complete flexibility. So I think actually, what we've seen for the new construction is kind of a 100,000 to 105,000. And I think this one's going to be even higher. And so I think, looking at the different town centers we do, and we're looking at, we're working in Kansas City, lots of different parts of St. Louis. I mean, this town center, it's, I don't want to say if it's on life support, but it really needs a shot in the arm. And I think, 200 or 189 people, all, I think it'll be a combination of people of single people, married people, retirees, as well as people professionally that love Wildwood and, are going to work from home or whatever. I think, people that have that kind of, income, I think they will look to walk across the street and grab a coffee or dinner. And I think it's not going to be the silver bullet, but it will definitely give it a strong boost.
One question I had real quick, the building on the corner, is that going to have ground floor retail also, or was that planning on being all housing?
No, the E-shaped building will have retail all along Main Street, along the entire north edge of it. So part of that retail is the amenity and club space. So, our leasing office and fitness center and things like that. But then there's additional retail along Main Street there as well, and as it turns the corner on Taylor.
Yeah, because sorry. So the side on Taylor, that'll have retail as well.
It'll have retail at the corner. So the first 60 or 70 feet or so, but then as you go further south on Taylor, the retail stops where that red line is going across.
Okay. Personally, I would rather see more retail options along Taylor, but that's just me.
I'd like to follow up before the question that I had. So, Mr. Mills, thanks for clarifying the target audience there and the income of these folks there. I think that's assuring to hear that you're attracting, a population that has the money at their disposal to contribute to our town center. And I think that's a good thing. I mean, the items that definitely stand out from this that I think are huge pluses and certainly lend to what it seems like luxury apartments are the pool area that I saw in the drawing there, the dog park there for the folks that will be residing there. I think those are pluses, but from a community perspective, really appreciate that the pickleball courts are there because people, that is, one of the hot trending sports these days, and we don't have those available at this time. And to have something that is available for the community to use and within walking distance, I think will be huge. So yeah, sounds like there's a lot of potential with the retail piece to help support and really try to, as you said, give it a shot in the arm for our current businesses and for all the people that live here. So thanks for doing that.
The average rents here are going to be, $2,300 a month to $2,500 a month. These are mortgage payments.
Got it. Well, I can tell you, I know from people that are in Wildwood, there are people that are looking to downsize that would like to move into something where they don't have any maintenance concerns. And, I had people watching some of the proposals we had already that we thought might be happening right in that area and just waiting to go. So I think that might be something there. We hear a lot too from the college graduates that come out of the homes that live around there. They want to stay close in the area. And right now to do that, I will quote exactly what I've heard. They're like, I have to go to Chesterfield to live in a place that I want to live in. And there's been some nice developments from what people tell me over there. So yeah, if gives it an opportunity, an option for people to stay in Wildwood, I think that will certainly be something that people like. Thank you.
I'll mention something, and I promise I'll stop talking. The bulk of apartments in St. Louis were built in the 80s. And I love them, but they're built in the 80s. So 7 Trails is down the street, and but people making 100,000, they want to live in something that's beautiful and got granite countertops and new cabinets. And this will have a rooftop amenity space, so people working from home are going to sit outside and work on their laptops. And the property, one of the ones built in Chesterfield, 180 units. Wild Horse is the one that has the Ruth Chris in it. 40% of that was retirees from Chesterfield. And I think Wildwood and Chesterfield are very comparable. Hopefully it comes across in a good way. But I think you'll you'll be surprised at how many people don't want a home, but actually want to stay someplace and be able to walk across the street and grab a coffee or see a movie or something.
All right, Mr. Cohn.
Thank you. A couple things I want to bring up. You talk about retail, and the entire frontage on Main Street will be storefront and available for retail. Chair Beatty, your comment about more retail going down Taylor Road. If you drive down Taylor, the grade is at such a steep hillside there, it really isn't feasible. So what retail will be on Taylor, only that will be economically feasible to build, and that's probably for the first 50, 60 feet. After that, it just doesn't work. We typically don't put escalators in to get to retail space.
Oh,
So I also want to bring up a fact, please. Due to the prime place and the years that have gone by and the lack of action, and doing that project, which of course is not happening at all, I've contacted many, many retailers, and I've gotten a lot of positive responses. Restaurants, services that we need in this city. And because of the nearly 5 years and nothing's happened with Prime Place, on this particular project, it's my intention not to do any type of retail leasing until we see something coming out of the ground. To talk to someone about leasing space if they don't know when it's going to be ready is ridiculous. However, we're in a very good position. We've owned the ground for, I guess, 30 years. So when it comes time to do our projections as to what we have to charge for retail rent, we'll probably not only the newest and nicest space, but probably the lowest rent of anywhere in Wildwood. So I think lease up is going to be pretty active on the retail end. What we're designing here is our luxury apartments. As Mr. Mills mentioned earlier, fronting on Main Street, we're going to have rooftop terraces. A good spot for people to watch the parade, to celebrate Wildwood, as well as to entertain guests in that. We've been very careful and mindful too about parking. As you'll notice, we got a 1.8 ratio as a minimum. We probably have more parking that's needed. And as Mr. Councilman Garantano says, we need more bodies in the town center to help support the existing businesses. And also to make sure that the residents of Cherry Hills have a comfort level for development like this. This is why we have designed 11 single-family detached homes on that south end of it. That will be, the garages will be in the rear. So as people drive down Old Manchester Road, they're just going to see the front elevations of new single-family homes. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
all right. Thank you.
Except I need a second for the.
Mayor Boland.
Yes, so I was just going to mention that. I'll mention that second. But first of all, I just want to say I'm going to speak on a macro, somewhat philosophical basis. Certainly, we as leaders of the city, input relative to wanting more restaurants and retail and such and so forth is good to give, to developers. They should certainly hear that. We represent the residents of the city. That said, I think it's also important for us as leaders to realize that we are not experts in the data that demonstrate what will be successful in terms of a development like this, whether it be retail, apartments, and if they're priced at this, that, or the other, and so forth. So at the end of the day, we have another development. I don't want to get into naming names, and places, but we had another development where there was a lot of emphasis to the point of requiring retail be done to a certain degree on the first floor, and that hasn't happened. And it's more than likely because the market didn't warrant it based on the way it was set up. So I would just caution us to be very careful about considering ourselves as experts on these things. And I'm not saying anyone is. I think at the end of the day, it's good for us to give input, but ultimately, I think we need to defer to others that have much more expertise and statistical data that show them what, from an economic and financial standpoint, will or will not work. And to some degree, we have to, give them the benefit of the doubt on that. At the end of the day, to my second point, yes, there is a motion on the floor, which is to suggest that this is something with the details to follow that would be good for the city. And that does need a second if someone wants to second it.
All right, Councilman Garitano. And I realize what I said. And when Mr. Cohn mentioned the slope of the street, that actually does make total sense to me for not being a good spot for retail with the way it does slope down towards Manchester. I've walked it enough, but yeah, I just wasn't thinking about that part.
And Chair Beatty, I wasn't in any way referring to you specifically. I was just talking generally relative to how we look at these things. I mean, certainly our job is to, as we do very well in Wildwood, frankly, to be very detailed and to close loops and ask these kinds of questions, but also recognizing we are not developers, we are not experts in these kinds of things, and I just think we need to give due consideration to those who are. So
understood. All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Or any
Aye.
further discussion? Sorry, Mr. Cohn.
Yes, Ms. Rippleto, when we met earlier, you talked about that we had a street going east and west, and concerns about residents having to cross that street. So as you can see on the new site plan, we put a promenade in, to avoid that. And I was wondering if you think that kind of met what you thought would be beneficial. And also, I also want to bring up the point that we're not showing Eastgate going all the way through to Old Manchester Road due to its proximity to the church, and how that would be a difficult situation to have two points of ingress and egress to parking lots that close to one another. So that's why you're seeing Eastgate, which will be a public street, not going through all the way to Old Manchester Road. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, motion by Mayor Boland, second by, I'll second it if I can.
You can.
All right, all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you very much. Have a good night,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.